They got rid of biblical theology to bring in witchcraft. Now, if the pagans who are always critiquing Western degeneracy why are they not happy at this? I mean, what is the basis for morality in your system? And you can't just point to the virtues of fighting and sweating, right? I mean, how is that a virtue? On what basis is that a virtue? There's no justification for or knowledge of what right and wrong is, basically. And yet the critique is, it's tied to Christianity, it is a bunch of weakness. Okay, but if that's weakness, we need a standard by which we judge or know what weakness and strength is. Is strength just might makes right? If strength is just might makes right, then, I mean, couldn't my band of wolf boys just come in, tear up your yard, tear up your kitchen, tear up your turkey dinner, take your daughters as a harem? What's wrong with that? Right? That's just might makes right. So now you need some reason to say, oh, no, that's not right. That's wrong. When you do that to me, that's wrong. But as we've seen in every debate with the pagans and with the Northmen, who aren't really Northmen, if you think about it too, that was right. That movie came out right when the Satanic Temple had kind of made their quest to put up their little statue, and they put out this public endorsement of the witch. We've seen all of these freaking millennials and Zoomers people are adopting, endorsing witchcraft. This went crazy on TikTok for some reason. All these little teen chicks thinking that they're witches. And there was an article a couple years ago that like all of the millennials have dropped. I think it was probably propaganda, but they've dropped all the traditional religions and they're all witches now. And it's like the victory of witchcraft. Witchcraft has won. Everybody's a witch now. And I've been saying for a long time that all of this witchcraft and the neo-pagan stuff and the Wiccan stuff is intentionally promoted. And many of the people involved in this scene come out of the Crowleyan era and ethos. A lot of Crowleyans involved in this. So somebody was like, you're totally wrong that they're promoting neo-paganism. Totally, they hate it. They want to shut it down. Not your dumb, goofy Fed thing on the internet. They're not going to tolerate that. Well, they might tolerate that. No, I'm talking about these movements, co-opted, COINTELPRO types of things. And they also serve a larger global agenda because they end up promoting the green stuff. The austerity, green agenda. And that's a huge part of why these religions, which are nature worship religions, all of the pagan religions really are a form of or a version of a variant of nature worship. And I'm not talking about the nature boy. Woo! I'm talking about nature worship. Okay? Different nature. Has this whole thing of, it's against the patriarchy, and then Black Phillip, right? The sort of conquistador goat that shows up. He says, don't you want, what does he say? He has this phrase. He says, don't you want, I wrote it down. Don't you want to live deliciously and see the world? Right? Because of the repression and the silliness of the puritanical system. Right? Puritanism is actually a form of Gnosticism. And so the weird part about the witch is like the religion that's supposed to be, quote, Christianity is really just a weird Calvinist Gnosticism. And so it's like two versions of paganism, right? Because then she eventually makes the pact with the devil, with your boy Black Phillip. Black Phillip, get it? And then in Gerald Gardner fashion, she decides to head out in the woods, strip down, and dance around. Have a little fun. Have a little Sabbat. As women often do. That wood time Sabbat. Right? And now you got to worry about that. I got to worry. Given the climate of today's atmosphere, the zeitgeist, I gotta worry, is my wood right now full of a bunch of naked maidens trying to smack butts and float? And a lot of them are going to be believing that if they kill an animal or do some spells, they're going to float. You can't float. You can't float even if you do those spells. Even if you let your Hierophant switch you on the butt, you're not going to float. Sorry. But all these millennials now think they're going to be witches, think they're going to float. I believe I can float. Oh, I forgot, by the way, that this includes the death of a baby in the movie, in The Witch. And the witch uses this as her first sort of spell and casting the spell and power. And this is a blood ritual covenant with Black Phillip, aka the devil. And the devil is set over against the dad, who ends up being this puritanical Calvinist lying hypocrite. And everything that he does just furthers her rebellion, right? That just makes her want to be more of a feminist, until eventually she just gives up and is like, all right, I'm out of here. I'm on Team Devil. She's into those dark arts, as Theo Vaughn says. Get you dark arts. The devil represents freedom, lust, sensuality. The Puritan religion represents iconoclasm, barrenness, austerity. A lot of freaking sweaty work with hay, which I'm not interested in. But you've noticed that the prairie muffin aesthetic is in. Did Anna Taylor-Joy, did she cause the prairie muffin aesthetic to become in? It isn't. I don't know why, but it's like the Mormon frontier style somehow became a thing. It's in now. It's weird. I don't know what's going on. Called AKA a prairie muffin. So Anya Taylor-Joy plays the prairie muffin turned into a witch. And I think, if I recall, this movie pulled from kind of classics like Hammer of the Witches by Jacob Springer, Nicholas Remy's, Witch Hunter books, Occult Book, which, by the way, I've read those. I have those over here somewhere. But we've done talks and streams on that a long time ago. Pretty fascinating stuff. By the way, I feel like we still should drop chicks in pools, seeing if they float. I'm not sure that was the wrong style of justice. Maybe we should go back to that. Right? Like, you don't look like you're floating to me. You look like you're starting to sink. So we know what you've been up to out there in the woods. Smacking buzz trying to float. You're not gonna float. Anyway, so it wasn't accidental either that this is when the culture was really being jammed with Baphomet, right? And Baphomet was popping up everywhere. It was in movies all the time, music videos all the time. Black Phillip comes as the Baphomet goat in this movie very clearly. And this goes back to the goat of Mendes, which, do you know the story of the goat of Mendes? I didn't actually know that. I forgot that Jamie went into that when we did that podcast. We got a bunch of witches in the house today. Nobody wants to super chat. Where the girls at? Prove to me you're not a witch. You can either prove it by not sinking when I dump you in the pool, or super chatting. There's the two ways to prove to me you're not a witch. Because if you like what I'm saying, you would support it. But if you're not super chatting, by default, you are not supporting it, meaning that you are a witch by default. Better super chat me right now. I'm your witch finder general.